Welcome back to the Snorium Emporium. Tonight we travel back to a quiet autumn evening in the year 1971. A time when air travel felt very different than it does today. Airports were smaller, security was minimal, and passengers could walk directly to their flights with little delay. Our story begins in the cool and rainy Pacific Northwest, a region known for towering evergreen forests, winding rivers, and skies that often remain softly grey. It is November 24th, 1971, the day before Thanksgiving. For many travellers, it was simply another routine flight home, but for one passenger, this ordinary trip would become one of the most enduring mysteries in American history. Tonight we explore the calm and curious story of the man known as D.B. Cooper. So settle in, relax your breathing, and imagine the quiet hum of an airplane drifting through cloudy skies. The story begins at Portland International Airport in Oregon. In 1971, airport terminals were quieter and far less crowded than modern ones. Passengers could arrive shortly before departure, purchase a ticket, and board the plane within minutes. There were no long security lines, no scanners, no metal detectors, just a ticket counter, a boarding gate, and the open runway beyond. On that afternoon, a man approached the ticket counter. He appeared calm, composed, and dressed in a dark business suit. He wore a white shirt, a narrow black tie, and dark sunglasses. Nothing about him seemed unusual. He paid $20 in cash for a one-way ticket on Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305. The destination was Seattle, Washington. The flight would take only about 30 minutes. The man wrote the name Dan Cooper on the ticket. At the time, no one gave the name a second thought, but soon, a small newspaper error would accidentally change that name forever. The media would report the story using the name D.B. Cooper, and that is the name that would enter history. Soon, passengers began boarding the plane. The aircraft was a Boeing 727, a popular airplane used for short, regional flights. One interesting feature of the Boeing 727 was its rear staircase located beneath the tail of the aircraft. This staircase allowed passengers to board or exit from the back of the plane. At the time, it was considered a useful design, but on this particular evening, it would become a key part of the mystery. The man took his seat near the rear of the plane, seat 18C. He placed his briefcase beside him and waited quietly. Around him, other passengers settled into their seats. Some read newspapers, others looked out the window at the cloudy sky. engines slowly began to rumble, and soon the plane lifted into the air. Shortly after takeoff, the man in seat 18C called over a flight attendant. Her name was Florence Schaffner. He handed her a small folded note. At first, she assumed it was simply a phone number. Sometimes passengers passed notes like that, but the man leaned toward her calmly and said something unexpected. He said quietly, "Miss, you'd better read that note." Florence opened the paper. Inside were simple words written in careful handwriting. The message read, "I have a bomb." The man then opened his briefcase slightly, just enough for her to see inside. Inside the case, she saw wires, batteries, and red cylindrical objects, something that strongly resembled explosives. Despite the alarming situation, the man remained calm. He did not shout. He did not threaten anyone loudly. Instead, he spoke quietly and politely. He explained that he wanted $200,000 in cash. He also requested 4 parachutes and a fuel truck waiting when the plane landed in Seattle. If these demands were met, he promised that everyone would remain safe. Florence carefully carried the message to the cockpit. The pilots read the note and immediately contacted airline officials. Soon, the FBI was notified, but the plane continued flying toward Seattle. Inside the cabin, most passengers had no idea anything unusual was happening. Some continued reading magazines. Others chatted softly with their neighbours. The mysterious passenger even ordered a drink, a bourbon and soda. He paid for the drink and waited patiently. Witnesses later described him as calm, polite, and composed throughout the flight. As the plane approached Seattle, the situation became more serious. Authorities began preparing the ransom money. They gathered $200,000 in $20 bills. Each bill's serial number was carefully recorded. Investigators hoped that if the money ever appeared again, they might be able to trace it. Meanwhile, the plane circled above Seattle, waiting finally. The ransom money and parachutes were delivered. The plane landed safely. Passengers were allowed to exit. One by one, they stepped off the aircraft, unaware that they had been part of one of the most unusual events in aviation history. Soon, only the crew remained on board. And the mysterious man. Once the money and parachutes were delivered, Cooper gave new instructions. He told the pilots to take off again. This time, he wanted the plane to fly south toward Mexico, but he requested something unusual. He wanted the aircraft to fly at a low altitude, about 10,000 feet. He also requested that the cabin remain unpressurized and that the landing gear remain partially lowered. These instructions puzzled the pilots, but they agreed. Soon, the plane lifted into the night sky once again. The evening sky above the Pacific Northwest was dark and cloudy. Rain fell lightly across the forests below, inside the aircraft. The crew remained in the cockpit. Cooper sat quietly in the rear cabin. At some point during the flight, he instructed one of the flight attendants to join the others in the cockpit. Now, he was alone in the back of the plane, and then something unusual happened. The crew noticed a warning light. It indicated that the rear staircase had been lowered. The Boeing 727 was now flying with its rear stairs open. The cold night air rushed through the back of the aircraft, but there was nothing the crew could do. They continued flying, waiting for instructions, but none came. Sometime later, the plane landed safely in Reno, Nevada. Authorities quickly surrounded the aircraft, but when they searched the cabin, the man was gone, somewhere over the forests of Washington state. D.B. Cooper had jumped from the plane into the dark, rainy night, carrying the ransom money and a parachute, and from that moment on, he was never seen again. The FBI launched one of the largest investigations in its history. Agents searched forests, rivers, and mountains. Helicopters scanned the dense wilderness. Teams of investigators walked through miles of rugged terrain. But the Pacific Northwest is vast. Endless forests stretch across the landscape. Deep rivers cut through steep valleys. And if Cooper had landed somewhere in those woods, finding him would be incredibly difficult. Years passed. No sign of the man appeared. Then, nearly 9 years later, something unexpected happened. In 1980, a young boy named Brian Ingram was playing along the Columbia River. He was digging in the sand when he uncovered something unusual. Several bundles of old cash. The bills were worn, but still bound together. Investigators soon confirmed something remarkable. The money matched the serial numbers of the D.B. Cooper ransom money, but only about $5,800 was recovered. The rest of the ransom money was never found. Over the decades, many theories have appeared. Some believe Cooper survived the jump and escaped. Others believe the cold weather, strong winds, and rough terrain made survival unlikely. Many suspects have been investigated, but none were ever proven to be the mysterious hijacker. Eventually, after more than 45 years of investigation, the FBI closed the case. The identity of D.B. Cooper remains unknown. Today, the story continues to capture imaginations. One man, one airplane, one mysterious jump into the night, and a puzzle that has never been solved. Perhaps that is why the story remains so fascinating, because some mysteries are simply never explained. Now imagine the quiet forests of the Pacific Northwest once again. Tall evergreen trees sway gently in the night wind. Rain falls softly through the mist. Somewhere in those forests, long ago, a man disappeared into history. Tonight, the forests remain still, the sky is calm, and the mystery slowly fades into the quiet of the night. Take a slow breath in and gently breathe out. Let your thoughts drift like clouds across the sky. The mystery can wait. For now, there is only calm and sleep. Good night. Oh, and for those of you still awake, before we end tonight's story, let's take a quiet moment together. Take a slow breath in through your nose, filling your lungs gently. Hold it for just a moment. And now slowly breathe out through your mouth. Let your shoulders soften and allow your body to sink comfortably into your bed or chair. Now again, breathe in slowly, deep and calm, and gently release the breath. Feel your body growing heavier, your muscles relaxing, your thoughts drifting quietly away. Imagine the night around you becoming still, the world outside slowing down. Just like you're breathing, take another slow breath in and let it go, even more slowly this time. With every breath out, allow the day to fade further into the distance. Your mind grows quieter, your body grows calmer, and sleep begins to arrive naturally. Now simply rest here, breathing slowly in the quiet comfort of the night. Good night.